Okay. So, I have to make a video response to a comment. The only other person I've done that with is Webmang. But this is honestly the... It's not just one of the best comments I've ever seen. It's actually the best rebuttal that I've ever been hit with. And I dare say that, CJ, you owned my ass. So, let's go over this magnificent comment. And I want to respond to a couple of the points that were brought up here. Because I definitely was not 100% correct in what I said about Final Fantasy Tactics. So, you can go back to the video and check his comment. I pinned it. I don't pin comments usually, but I'm going to pin that one because that's a freaking great comment. It's well thought out, well written, and I really enjoyed reading it. Okay. Let's start. Let's just read the whole thing, okay? CEJ, hope you don't mind if I call you that. It says, I completely 1000% disagree with the video title, but I'll watch this 24.5-minute self-admitted drunk rant, and I'll appreciate it the whole time, because it's always, why can't you just respect other people's opinions, while they disrespect you for having a non-mainstream opinion? F that. I love controversial opinions, even ones I disagree with, and thank you for having one. I'll respond to some of your points because that's how I show respect to people's opinions, by engaging them in honest discourse. I wish I had a hat out here. I would put it on and take it off and tip it to you for saying that. Point 1. 100% agree that Project Evilus is dope. Hell yes. I do disagree that FFT isn't fun to play. More on that later. Fair enough. Point number 2. The hidden mechanics of bravery, faith, and zodiac signs are pretty annoying. I think that if you put something into a game where you can reasonably expect people to try and optimize, so every game, and then don't explain how a mechanic works, you're a dick. So shame on the devs for that. Sure, they fixed it eventually, but the original PlayStation version's explanation was basically nothing. Yeah. Young me did not appreciate that because I didn't understand it was even a thing affecting my characters in the first place. It wasn't that I was unaware of which zodiac symbols are good with each other. I didn't even know that they interacted. So, yeah, I mean, maybe that's part of my initial bitter taste from that game, was when I played it when I was, like 12 or something. When it had first come out. Point number 3. You only play as humans. Well, until the mid-game or so. Then you can play as Ramza plus red chocobos and dunk the whole map with meteors. But I get your point. It's people or monsters. And I'm a loser for neglecting that part. How could I forget about Reese, the holy dragon, and her elemental bracelet breaths? Those are freaking awesome. And yeah, more to the point, how could I forget about red chocobos? I mean, dude, when you're level grinding and you go back and forth between a couple places, eventually you learn, you stay the hell away from that forest after a certain point. You don't go to that place where the stream is and the chocobos show up, because when those 3 red chocobos start dunking meteors on your party from across the map, you're not in for a good time. Red chocobos are like the scariest random battle enemy in that entire game, and I am just completely remiss for not bringing them up. Those are actually one of my favorite units in the game. They're super fun. Also, shoutouts to black chocobos, because you can actually ride them and fly around the map on them. One of my favorite things. Even though it's completely unnecessary, because once you get ignore height, your dragoon can just ignore height. But I thought it was really fun for a while at first to put a dragoon on the back of a black chocobo and have them actually flying around. Young me, enjoyed role playing in these games. Because the characters don't really talk. They don't have interactions or personalities, so I just made them up in my head as I played. Anyway, I completely agree about the other Final Fantasy XII or the MMOs. The fact that the most we've got is bunny girls and boys in 14, but no bunga? Come on. I know. Why are Hrothgar a thing? Why did they come up with an entire new race when they could just keep picking from Ivalice? Like, honestly, I would go back and start playing 14 again on a brand new character if I could play as a Bonga. I wouldn't even Fantasia my character into a Bonga. I would play the entire game over from a brand new character if I could actually do that. I would be into that. Big agree on the grind and job system. I like to play the game, so I don't mind the grind at all. But the job system loses its fun for me, which is the mystery of figuring out which job combos can get you which jobs after you know how it works. Yeah, I kind of I guess I've known about every single, job path for so long, and I just metagamed through every single time I play through that, that's a point that I guess I completely forgot, about like your first time playing through the game, and it's like you go to the job screen and it's like, oh, I think I'm going to switch them over to this job. And I unlocked a what job? What is this? And you excitedly scroll over to the new sprite art and be like, what is this job? What does it do? What abilities can it learn? Like, I have to admit, that was always just really exciting when you unlock a new job for the first time. That was a very special moment. So, again, I am remiss for not talking about some of the more enjoyable parts of the nostalgia of this game. Number 6. Huge disagree on resource management on mages being bad in general, but big agree on the idea that mages should have something besides nothing when they're out of mana. The trade-offs for using magic should either be big enough that you don't mind running out of ammo halfway through a fight, or they need to have a compelling way of managing their mana. Something like rebuilding it through a gameplay loop, or rewards for proper management besides just being able to do the thing you wanted to do in the first place. That's why I loved Dragon Quest XI, one of my favorite recent RPGs, because your mages could equip wands and smack enemies with a wand and get their MP back. When you that alone made having mages in the party so freaking fun, and I loved that. It doesn't need to be anything complex. It can actually be something as simple as use your melee turn to regain mana. There's plenty of games that do it. The Chained Echoes has every character is like that, basically. So, I would love to just see something as simple as that. If I can, use some turns for something very little other than just recovering some MP, I like that more. So, anyway. It says, I have never played Tactics 2. You have made me want to play Tactics A2. You have done a better job at selling this game than anyone has ever done trying to sell a game. You make it sound like the funnest thing imaginable. Thank you. I genuinely, honest to God, appreciate that. Thank you. I never thought that Tactics Advance was worse than Tactics, but I also never really thought it was better. You've completely changed my mind. I still disagree that Tactics is mid, but I 100% agree that Tactics Advance, at least I haven't played A2, is the better game. And, that's kind of what I'm saying here, I'm trash. It's a freaking video title. If you use the internet, you know how things are. For the people that actually watch the video, I don't hate Tactics. I want better for its potentiality that I feel was untapped. Because I've played it for like 1,200 hours. I enjoy playing it. I just hate grinding JP and leveling Ramza down on the desert repeatedly. I just don't like that part. The problem is that most of the time, that's like 50% of the freaking gameplay. So, I don't know. It's one of those games that I have a lot of problems with, but the fact that I still continue to replay it all the time, it should tell you what I actually think about it. Point number 9. See, you pointing out the BS about the multiple save options for the Wii graph is how I know you're a Tactics patrician. I like the way you use words, by the way. The difficulty of the fight isn't the issue. It's that you're stuck and you have no option if you haven't grinded enough before to get him. Or before you get to him, sorry. I remember the first time I played Tactics and getting stuck on that fight. I'd go back to the previous battle right before and do everything I could to get Ramza all the experience, all the JP, all the buffs I could get him so that he had a chance in that fight. And it just didn't matter. even if I could get through Wheatgraph, it just meant that none of my other characters were surviving Velius in the room full of bullshit that he summoned. I also had to start the entire game over again because of that fight. Yeah. But I guess that should tell you something about Tactics, right? Is that it pulls that kind of literal crap, but you still want to play. But you still want to go back and beat it. You want to show it who's boss. He's like, no, I understand what you're trying to throw at me. I know how this game works. I'll show you. And as much as that fight just drives me nuts, I think I have to give it credit. There's really not many fights and games back then that drove you to such a breaking point. And as a result, you had a magnificent feeling of reward and success and accomplishment and achievement for actually getting through that fight. But I do think it's kind of crap that the difficulty and the stress of it comes from the fact of, oh, once you're here, you can't get out. So yeah, as he says, I don't agree that Tactics is mid. I still think it's legit phenomenal given its position in history. But I do agree that Tactics Advance is absolutely the better game. You convinced me. I did enjoy listening to your opinion, and thank you for sharing it. On that note, here's my outrageous hot take. He says, Final Fantasy VII is the most overrated game of all time. I've got a lot of reasons for feeling that, but this comment is already obnoxiously long. Hey, I loved that comment, man. It's one of the most enjoyable things I've read on the internet in quite a long time. And I'll say this. I agree. Even though I love Final Fantasy VII, I absolutely adore that game. I've played through it enough that I casually speedrun it for fun. But is it the most overhyped game of all time? Yeah, pretty much. That doesn't mean that I don't love it. I mean, there's no reason I can't do that too. But yeah, dude, what a freaking fantastic comment. Genuinely really enjoyed reading that. And yeah, called me out on my bullcrap. And yeah, I feel sufficiently humbled and owned, but I also highly value and respect what you have to say. So thank you for showing me that there actually are people out there on the internet that have enough intelligence to express themselves with elegance, eloquence, and prose. I appreciate you the most. Hope you all have a good one, and perhaps some of you can learn a lesson on how to actually interact with people whose opinions you disagree with on the internet from this person, because they're, in my opinion, a pretty standout, exemplary role model of how you should actually behave and express your opinions by just being a, civil human being. It's actually not that hard. Thank you for your time. Appreciate you. God bless.